Well, welcome everyone to TMI Advice You Didn't Want. Today we're talking about dreams, and this one's going to be super fun because I don't know about you, Ashley, but I have some weird, wacky, wild dreams. And recently I really have been having some weird, wacky, wild dreams. But in case we haven't met, my name is Karin Angelly. I'm one of the co-hosts here, and we're just going to dive in and have some fun, right?
Yeah, my name is Ashley, and I agree with you. I've had some pretty weird dreams. I have stories of people that have had dreams that are really significant.
Mm,
Um, my weird dream, I didn't mention this, but I've been dreaming a lot too
me too.
in the month of
Crazy.
December, like insane
Mhm.
amounts. For me, none that are really noteworthy other than a funny one. So.
Yeah, you got to share then. Tell me the funny one.
So,
Let's hear
do you
it.
want to start there? Okay. So, I don't know if this ever happens to you, but every once in a while, I've had dreams where I have like the feeling of like gravel in my mouth. And so
Oh,
I'm
that.
dreaming,
Huh.
or like bubble gum. And it happens like, I don't know, it's probably happened like 3 to 5 times for me,
Mhm.
where I'm like, oh, I have so much gum in my mouth, and I'm like trying to spit the gum out of my mouth, and
Yeah.
I can't spit it out. And so I had like that feeling. And so in my dream, I'm like spitting and spitting and rubbing my finger in like my mouth like this, trying to get the gravel out. And
Get
I'm
it
like
out.
sucking it out and all that kind of stuff. And it's like in the dream, I'm like at the beach doing things, and all of a sudden I'm like emptying. And so I wake up in the morning and there's a pile like this. I was spitting in like actuality. There's a pile of spit like this
Oh my
big. And
God.
I'm just like, oh, that's never happened before. I've always done like the felt like the dry
Yeah.
mouth grossness, but this time I literally was spitting in reality. And
That's
we had just
funny.
washed the bedding like the day before. So it was like we
Blech.
wash our sheets regularly enough, so it's fine. But like, my freshly clean spot now has like a spit stain this big.
Oh man.
And so I woke Eric up, and I'm like, "Look what I did in my sleep." He's like, "Oh my God, that's disgusting."
Right. Yeah. And now that now you're saying it, I've never had gravel in my mouth, but I have had dreams where I have something in my mouth that I just can't get out. Like I've had dreams that like I have dentures and I can't get them out of my mouth, which is so weird. But yeah,
Yeah.
I have done that before where I'm like, something's in my mouth. And to make matters worse, I have TMJ. So it
Mm,
basically just means you clench, right, while you're sleeping. And at one point I was able to rewire myself to stop
mm,
doing that. And I'm gonna get back there again. But the thing that's funny is that sleeping with a mouth guard at night so that I don't clench all the way causes me sometimes to be like, I have something in my mouth and I can't get it out. And like
yeah.
you said, the bubble gum thing, like, oh yeah, I definitely have the bubble gum thing. So
Yeah.
so weird and so crazy what our brain does. Like, because let's be honest, this goes back to your brain and what's going on in your brain. And that's one of the things that when I look at any of the dreams that I've ever had, I don't know about you, Ashley, but I ask myself what was the frequency of what I was feeling during the dream
Mhm.
because I feel like that tells me more than even the events of the dream in general. Like it's like there's something that my brain is trying to process, and dreaming can really pull that out for me. And so what I've really been focusing on recently is what's the frequency of what I was feeling when I had that dream. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel the same way.
I don't think I've ever really had that thought process. It's more so like, what's the root cause?
Mm,
So it's similar but different.
similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So like example, like if I'm in a dream and I feel trapped,
Yeah.
like I ask myself, where do I feel trapped in my life? Or someone
Yeah.
chasing me and it's creating all this fear. Like, where is that coming from? So I actually had a dream. Was it last night? Yeah, I think it was last night. I had this dream, and this is wild because this is something that I've been working on in my regular day-to-day basis, which
Mhm.
makes me really excited because it means that my subconscious brain is really listening and paying attention to the rewiring that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, in my dream, I am literally in a Oh, geez, I just totally spaced out what the dream was.
Mhm.
Hilarious because I'm thinking about what my other dream was that I was going to tell you too. So, but one thing that I've learned is just getting really connected with what am I feeling inside the dream, right?
Mhm.
Like, is there a fear? This is the dream. Okay, sorry. Wow, that was difficult. So, in the dream, I was actually at the hospital, right? The hospital had like I was just at a regular day at the hospital and somebody came up to me at the hospital and they handed me a list of names and I was on the list. And they were like, by the way, we've had so many so few surgeries happening that we just don't need as many anesthesia providers. And so we don't need you right now. And my initial response was a fear response. That's where the whole fear thing came up for me, was a fear of like, oh no, like, how am I going to pay my bills? Was the initial dream conscious thought that happened. And then what's super fun is that I caught myself in the dream, because this is what I do on a day-to-day basis with my thoughts that I'm thinking on a regular basis, is I will work on catching the thought and be like, wait a minute, that's not serving me. So if I'm
Mhm.
sitting there and I'm going, ooh, I'm having a thought where I'm fearful about something, about XYZ thing,
Mhm.
then I'll try and rewire it in the moment when I notice that it's happening. So what happened in the dream is I noticed that I was going into this fear response, that I wasn't actually going to a place of, okay, that's fine, and just letting it go. It was a fear response that I had. I noticed in the dream that I had the fear response. And then the second thing that did in my dream was the same thing that I do in my regular life too, which is, well, wait a minute, it always works out. So
Mhm.
I don't have to worry about this. I'll figure it out. And then I had this deep gratitude because I was like, I have other ways to make money. Like I'm literally like thinking in my dream about all the other ways that I have to make money. And I'm like, oh, I'm fine. Like it was wild because I was like, wow, my brain went from holy shit, like processing this fear to wait a minute, I don't need to feel like that. I can
Mhm.
actually start feeling and thinking a different way, which is wild because I've really been driving this home in my own personal life in my waking days. So it's
Mhm.
really fun to see that my subconscious is going, okay, that makes sense. I can do that while we're sleeping too, because let's be honest, when you're sleeping, can't always control the dreams that come out of you.
For
So,
sure. Yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah. So, I don't know. Like, I don't know if you've had anything like that before where you're like, you wake up and you're like, damn, I got it going on. I've been practicing something and I got it going on. I figured it out somehow with my subconscious brain.
No, I honestly don't think I have. Like the closest thing I can get to that is something that I know you have talked about with me before, is like when I would study for a test, I would never study for a test. I literally would just read over my notes once the night before,
Mm,
and then I would study while I was sleeping. And I don't
mhm.
know if other people listening have experienced this. I know you have because we've talked about it. And so I would dream of rereading my notes over and over and over again. And so it was basically like 8 free hours of studying while I was sleeping. And that's really the closest thing I can get to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one thing that I don't know if anyone listening does this either. One thing that I do also is if I want to have a particular experience while I'm dreaming, I just like you do when you're studying, I will
Mhm.
like rehearse what's the thing that I want to experience tonight.
Mm.
So it's caused me to have transcendental experiences while I'm dreaming that I can become lucid while I'm dreaming, and then I can start to control it.
Mhm.
And what I've learned is that I have to be intentional before I go into the dream world. Otherwise,
Mhm.
it's not going to go anywhere. And I feel like this has so many parallels to reality too, because in reality, I feel like it's the same thing. If you want to create something, there has to be an intention behind it.
Mhm.
What is your intention with what you're creating in the world? You know, like we can't just go out and try all these things and see what happens, see what sticks. Like I know there's so many people out there, myself included at sometimes in my life, where I'll just throw something at the wall and see what sticks. But there's
Mhm.
no intention with that. So, like for me, when I enter into the dream world with an intention of, I want to be lucid and I want to start to control it, some weird, wild, wacky stuff happens for me. So,
That's awesome.
yeah. So, I don't know if this has happened to you before either, but um, I've had dreams before where I know in the dream. So this is like my subconscious is like, yep, I got it. I know what that frequency is. I know in the dream that I'm a multimillionaire. Like it's like in the dream, I become lucid and I'm like, oh yeah, that's already happened. Like I'll create some sort of money in the dream and then I become lucid and I'm like, oh yeah, that's already happened. So it's
Mhm.
like my brain is rehearsing it while I'm sleeping, you know?
Mhm.
So, I mean, I feel like the big take home for this at the end of the day is that if you're a dreamer, even if you're not a dreamer, I do think that you can create these kind of experiences for yourself. It's just about getting the intention behind it. So,
Mhm.
having an intentional focus on what do I want to experience tonight in my dreams? That's probably one of the biggest reasons that I meditate before I go to sleep too, because
Yeah.
it helps my brain to kind of rehearse, how did my day go? What do I want to let go of? And what do I want to experience tonight while I'm dreaming? So it's fun when you actually use sleep for things like studying or creating experiences in your dream or, like all the crazy stuff that can happen while we're dreaming, right? So
And
yeah.
there might be people listening, they're like, oh, I don't remember any of my dreams, or I don't dream, or any of that kind of stuff. And so there are exercises that you can do to help yourself with that, like kind of like what you're saying, as setting up the intention. But then the next morning, you can do things to recall your dream. And
Hmm.
so, say you wake up the next morning, you're like, oh, I didn't dream that night. Like, just ask yourself, like, if I did dream, what might it have been about?
Hmm.
And journal about it. And then eventually you'll start remembering little tidbits or remembering more, or one night you'll randomly have a dream you completely remember. And when you actually like journal it and write it down and ask yourself those questions the next day, you'll start being able to recall more because you're
Yeah.
training yourself to do that.
Yeah, it's like you're training yourself to control your brain waves too, is
Mhm.
like the piece of the puzzle also. So my husband used to be one of the people that would be like, I don't remember my dreams at all. Like I think I dream, but I don't know. I don't remember them. And it
Mhm.
wasn't until we started meditating
Yeah.
that he started to remember his dreams. And I think the big reason for that is, like I just said, you're controlling your brain waves when you're meditating. You're
Mhm.
able to kind of go, okay, I'm conscious right now. And then you start to bring yourself down to alpha and then to theta. And you're kind of in between like that theta, delta, alpha area when you're meditating. Like you're kind of going up and down in it. And so I think for him, having practiced for so long, it helped him to get really good at being like, oh, I can control my brain waves. And then what's fun is he remembers his dreams. And so he'll talk about them. And I'm like, wow, you didn't used to dream. Like this is new.
Yeah, Derek was like that too, where he never remembered and now he's starting to pick up on some. And it's just comes with self-awareness too.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I think that's the big piece of all of this that I want to like hammer home. Like, I feel like the more self-aware you are, you start to kind of tune into more of yourself.
Mhm.
I mean, that's what self-awareness means, but you tune into yourself in a way that you haven't before, and things start to get shown to you. And it
Mhm.
can be in the dream world.
Mhm.
So, and it can be really fun too. Like I said, like you can start to create with intention in the dream world.
Mhm.
One of the dreams that I was thinking about earlier that caused me to get derailed was I had a dream maybe about a week ago where I was teaching and training on manifestation, right? And that is like my baby. I love talking about how somebody can manifest something. And so, like, I'm dreaming about it. Like, this is wild, right? So, but I'm teaching in the dream to a group of people about how to manifest. And I remember being so like animated and excited about it because I was like, listen, it is not. And I said this in my dream. It is not about the thing you're trying to manifest. Stop focusing on that. That's not the thing. The
Mhm.
thing that you're focusing on is becoming the best person, the best version of you. I can't even remember what I said, but it was literally like, yes, that. And I woke up and remember thinking, man, I got it going on. That is exactly like, or not me got going on, but my subconscious brain has it going on. That's exactly what it is. It's about looking at yourself and cleaning up the parts of you that you're like, that doesn't serve me anymore. And the more you do that, the more you start to just attract this whole new world around you and you create something amazing. And so I'm teaching this in my dream and I'm getting chills talking about it right now because I'm just like, I know that that's my life purpose, like to talk about the kind of things that we talk about on this podcast, that is the goal. Like that's the life purpose that I'm like, man, my
Mm.
subconscious knows, okay, let's just do this.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome.
So yeah, I don't know. It's fun to explore the dream world too. I don't know for you, like besides like the funny ones, like what kind of dreams, like do you have recurring dreams?
I do, but not that I really remember. Like I know that like after I've had a dream, I'm like, oh, that was like a build on of another dream I've had in the past, and like
Mm,
that kind of stuff. Um, and there'll be like takeaways or like, oh, that was really speaking to this situation. But nothing where it's like recallable right now kind of thing.
mhm.
A lot of my dreams are really, really weird,
Mine
like
too.
really weird. A lot of my dreams will take place like in my past, where I'll have dreams about things that have happened, and that kind of stuff, or people in my past. And I never really know what that one's about, where I'll have dreams about people in my past. And it's pretty like generic and someone that I haven't thought about at all. Like sometimes there's like, oh yeah, I had just seen like a Facebook post for that person I hadn't in a long time. Like it's nothing like that. Like it's completely random.
Mhm.
um and so yeah, and then there's times where I'll have like dreams about like our situation with the kids and us getting like what we want and that kind of stuff, and I'm sure that's because that's what I'm focusing on
Mhm.
too. So yeah, I haven't really dove too hard into the dream world. I do want to. I have journaled my dreams before, and I do want to do
Mm.
that again.
Me
Um,
too. That would be something we could do together. That would be fun because I've
yeah.
definitely done that in the past too. And it's really cool to look at them later after the fact.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't really have too much in that regard. But I do know there are people that have like amazing dreams that really like light the way for them. And this
mhm.
is one thing that really stands out to me, and just really makes it so that I'm like, I need to pay attention. And so when I do have a dream, after every dream, I do evaluate that and see if there are any takeaways that I can like apply right away. And sometimes there's not.
Mhm.
But I don't know if we've talked about this on the podcast, but I know we've talked about this together. And that's Dr. Caroline Leaf, who
Mhm.
is very Christian
Yeah.
and yet talks about how to utilize dreams. And that's something that's not always respected in a religious community, even though it is very biblical as well.
Right. Right.
Um, but she had a dream. She's from South Africa, and her family, her husband and her children, I believe it was, were walking on a beach in South Africa, and they had a whole bunch of people come up with guns to rob them. And in her dream, she acted in a certain way, and they didn't rob them, and then they left them alone completely unharmed.
Mm.
And I think it was in under a week that exact situation happened to her and her
Mm.
kids at a place that they frequented at the beach. And she did exactly the same thing as she did in her dream, and it worked out exactly the same way.
Mm.
And so that story really changed my perspective on dreams, like
Mhm.
permanently, where I never just take them at surface
Yeah.
value.
Yeah.
Um, but I also haven't like dove into them to the degree that would be enjoyable, and I could.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Like I said, one of the big things that I focus on too is what's the frequency of what I was feeling in the dream.
Mhm.
But you're right. I have had dreams before too that have been very prophetic as well.
Yeah.
Like that dream where I was teaching, I absolutely believe that's a prophetic thing. That it's like that's the life I'm meant to lead, So
Yeah.
it's definitely I say that things are more about the frequency, but it's also um well, how do I say this? Like the events are important also, but it's like asking myself when I come out of the dream, what was more important? What was my takeaway?
Yeah.
Like that's what I've started to do. And so for some of them, like the two that I just shared, um, like the one where I was told I won't have a job
Yeah.
anymore. That was more of a I have been practicing this and I can pat myself on the back because this is working.
Yeah. Like
And
reaffirming you. And
exactly. I was affirming that I was doing the right thing kind of thing.
yeah.
And the other one just being like, yeah, this is my purpose. So that's one thing that like we talk about together. And I don't know if we've said this on the podcast, but whenever you have an experience, whether it's a dream or you have a chill or you get really like you feel like something's right, but you don't know how come,
Mhm.
sometimes just asking yourself is probably one of the best things that you can do, really tapping into your intuition in
Mhm.
that way.
Mhm.
I know we have that mutual mentor that really like taught both of us to do that. Like when you have an experience, ask yourself, well, what was that about? What do I need to learn? What am I trying to see here?
Mhm.
And that can really open up some possibilities. So that's something that I do sometimes when I'm like, that dream was very confusing. What was I supposed to be experiencing there? And sometimes you get the response of, well, this is what you're feeling. And so that was this thing that you experienced, or
Mhm.
this is like the future, or this is whatever, um, like I said, like with the money and all that stuff, like this is the future. And I know that's the future. So just asking yourself, like, I think it's so simple, but a lot of people, myself included in the past, overlooked that as a way to actually figure out what I was supposed to be learning in a situation, right? Like
Yeah.
it's easy to just overlook that and think that that's a silly way to figure out what your gut's trying to tell you.
Well, and yeah, I think sometimes the simplest things that we do and incorporate are the simplest to forget about because
Mm.
they're so easy and quick. And I often think about that, like, oh, I stopped doing that and it was like so easy and so helpful. So
Yeah, yeah, and you're right. Like it's sometimes the simplest things, it's easy to forget. So that for me is probably one of the biggest reasons that I do meditate every day because it's a reminder to myself every single day about how powerful I am.
Mhm.
And it's a reminder of how I can actually tap into this deeper energy source that otherwise I would potentially forget. I mean, there's a reason that if you look at like the Christian faith, there's a reason that they talk about going to church every week and meeting with people and that, because it's a reminder to yourself around your religion, right? Like, what am I going to focus on? It's the same thing when you're doing, whether it's meditation or journaling, or if you're doing breath work or you're focusing on clearing your chakra, it doesn't matter what you're doing, right? Like it's just the consistent coming back to yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Do
yeah.
you want to go way into left field?
Yeah, let's go. Of course, I always like going in left field.
But with nothing of benefit to anyone.
That's okay. It's benefit
And
to listen to. How's that?
and and definitely TMI. So, one thing that I do have happen, not like all the time, but enough that Derek's jealous, is I will have orgasms in my sleep,
Oh,
like
same,
full on. Yeah, he
same.
doesn't.
He
He's a
doesn't?
man. He's
That's
never had a wet
odd.
dream in his life,
Ever? Oh my God.
ever.
Oh my God, my
Yeah.
husband's gonna hate me, but he does. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't even. Okay, so here's what's super fun. This is like in the same vein, but it's gonna like you're gonna start thinking about how can I start doing this when I tell you because it's super fucking fun. So we talk about kundalinis, right? Like, let me explain for people that don't know what a kundalini is. Basically, you're taking energy from your first chakra, your root chakra, your first energy center, and you're pulling it up to your brain, right? Like, you're literally like, how I was taught to do it is you just contract your first, second, and third chakras. You contract all of those and you just push that energy up to your brain, right? So I started being able to do this while I'm having a sleep orgasm. I now am able to have a brain orgasm while I'm
That's
sleeping.
awesome.
It's banana crackers when it happens because you just are like, wow, like you're kind of like, whoa, what am I capable of?
Yeah.
But if you've ever had, I mean, everybody, well, not everybody, but lots of people have had orgasms, right? I'm not going to assume that everybody has, but lots of people have had orgasms. Think about that kind of energy in your brain. Like
Mhm.
it's wild what it can do. And
Yeah.
you feel so freaking free. And when you do it while you're sleeping, it's really cool. Let me just say that right now.
It's the best way to wake up.
Yeah, it
'Cause
kind of
it's
is.
like this lingering, wonderful vibration.
Yeah, actually. I think that
Yeah.
that's crazy that your partner has never had one while sleeping. That's crazy. That's sad.
I don't remember how it came up, but it was like the first time I had one while I was with him, and I'm like, oh, I just had a sex dream about us and had a very great orgasm. And he's
I'm
like,
good.
he's like, that's not fair. You got off and I didn't.
But that begs the
And
question too, like, is there a blockage there that's
yeah.
causing that to happen? Yeah. And you say yeah, and I think the same thing. So, but I feel like if he can ever get to the point where he can fully like release that blockage, he'll probably start having wet dreams left and right, right? So,
Yeah, that's so interesting. Because yeah, when we talked about it, he was like, "Yeah, not even as a kid," and I'm like, "Because I don't
what?
think it started happening till to me till I was like in my late teens."
I think
But
I
it
was
happened.
younger when it started happening.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't remember the first one at all, but I've had it always in my life,
Same.
and
Yeah.
yeah. So then when he said that, I was like, I thought it was like an all guys thing.
I
Definitely.
did too. That's crazy because I
Maybe
mean,
I'll
I've
have to ask him again, but I'm positive he said he's never had one.
yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, because
But he
like,
also said that he never remembered any of his dreams
mm,
until very recently too. So,
yeah,
but a wet dream you would remember when you woke
you
up.
would absolutely remember that. There's no question because dudes can't hide it. Like, that's the thing that we get lucky with is that we don't have that, but dudes can't hide it.
Yeah, so funny. I was gonna say something else on it, but can't remember.
It's
So,
okay. Yeah, whatever. I mean, I don't know. Like like you said, it's a fun way to go, huh, I had a good time.
yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, like I said, like it's really fun too to like start to get lucid in your dream and be able to pull that up to your brain also because what's happening down there is amplified once it hits your brain. So your whole body is vibrating.
Oh, for sure.
Um so it's a wild experience that I hope everybody experiences at some point because it's really, really cool. Like I said, like with Kundalini energy, we're all capable of it. Like it's not something that I'm special and I can do it. No, everybody can do it. Each of us has a crap ton of energy down in our first chakra. So
Yeah.
it's really just about harnessing that.
Hmm.
And one thing that I've started doing too is while I'm awake, I've started, if I start getting chills, because I get chills down there too while I'm awake, and I'm like, ooh, it's interesting. Okay. I will try to actually pull that energy up to my brain and while I'm awake also without doing contraction, just asking it to move up. And it does move up if you ask it, because I've been training my body to do it over and over again. So it's that like continual practice that has created that kind of effect for me. So with that, I guess we can call today's episode of TMI Advice You Didn't Want a total wrap because let's be honest, we talked about dreams, sex, orgasms while you're dreaming, like all the deal. So I think that's enough. So if you loved us, we would
It was probably, sorry, I was gonna say it was probably TMI, but if you haven't had a sex dream, it'll probably be advice you want.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. So if you loved us and you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and give us a thumbs up, subscribe. We'd love to connect with you also if you have any questions, comments. And then if you're listening to us on any of your favorite podcasts, then give us a 5-star. And also let us know what you want us to talk about because we love chatting about all this fun stuff. So with that, I guess we can say this is a wrap and we will see everyone next time.